Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning.
Good afternoon and good morning to the West Coast. Sheila, Gunn, Reid with you, along with myself. We're welcoming you to our daily live stream where we talk about current events, our own news stories, and of course, Sheila's here to explain Super Chats because no one else can do it as good as you, Sheila.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I'm kind of excited. I haven't been on air for the live stream in like a week because I've been busy tootling around the province and chasing stories. So I'm kind of excited to be back because it's actually one of the favorite things that I do here at Rebel News. I have a lot of things that I really like to do, but I like to be on the live stream because I like to, first of all, sort of shoot the breeze with my colleagues because I'm out here in the West and you guys are all in the office. So you guys all get to talk to each other all day long. And I'm here and it's just me, my dog under the desk and way too much coffee. And so it's great to be able to interact with just a fellow rebel in real time. And it's great to be able to interact with our rebel supporters and our fans and everybody who's watching us at home. Looks like there's over 500 people watching us right now. You know what, everybody who's watching, can you help us get that number up a little bit higher? Take a second and share the live stream if you wouldn't mind. But could you also do something else? Could you click a thumbs up? It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us a lot. It helps us get a little bit higher up in the YouTube algorithm. So I'm told. I don't really understand how those things work because I'm over the age of 40. So I've heard kids use that language. So I'm just if you wouldn't mind giving us a like, that would be great. But yes, I should discuss the super chats because sometimes we get a little off the rails and then we don't explain exactly what we're doing here until the show is half over. And I feel like that's a little bit of a waste. However, we do have a very carefully curated and cultivated fan base here on the daily live stream who know exactly what to do, even when we don't. So one of the best ways for you to support the work that we do here is completely willing. And it also gives you a chance to sort of take the show in your own direction through something called a super chat. Now, YouTube takes it's their platform. We can't get too uptight about it, but we get the majority of it. And what you can do is if you go to the very bottom of the live chat, there's a little $sign there. If you click on that, the more money you donate to us, the more characters you get. And it's your chance to, I guess, democratize the show. You can leave a question, you can leave a comment, you can leave a criticism. Let's be constructive about it. You can leave, a compliment. I don't know if I already said that, but I want to just drive that point home. Or a story idea, a tip, whatever you want. Put it in a super chat. It'll pin it to the top of the screen, so everybody who's watching will see it, but I'll also see it. If I don't see it, then producer Justin will send it to me in, I'm not sure what messaging platform we're using, so maybe Justin can whisper that in my ear, and we'll read it on air. Okay, WhatsApp. Perfect. And we'll read it on air, and Andrew or myself, or both of us will do our best to address it. And it's a great way for you to support the show and, do something that they don't do in the mainstream media, and that's actually leave a comment because comment sections are closed on the mainstream media.
Can't take the risk, Sheila. No comments allowed. All my answers are pre-recorded anyways. This is just, I'm just very clever with how I pre-record things. I think
it's a big delay.
The first thing that we wanted to get to was a recent story from the best premier in the world, Doug Ford, ladies and gentlemen, who said, hey, it's no big deal that we want to use bracelets to track people's social distancing. He supports and he stands by. Ontario Premier defends spending $2.5 million on bracelets that beep if users get too close. And down the article there, he said, it's a good investment that could have a good return. Whether that means monetarily, that he's just investing the province's money on it, or does he mean that, we're going to get to track a lot of people? My first question, Sheila, is where would Doug Ford's bracelet say that he's been if it's being tracked? Is he going to the cottage again just to check the pipes? Is he going to a wedding? Is he going to visit a 100-year-old woman without any social distancing or masks? Who knows? Sheila, do you know where he would be going?
I think he would be going to the grocery store so he could buy supplies to bake cheesecake, so that he could bake cheesecake and tell us all to stay at home and give ourselves diabetes. It's like somebody snatched Doug Ford and replaced him with like bizarro Doug Ford. Because Doug Ford 3 years ago is not this guy who's tracking the movements of citizens. I mean, why don't you make everybody just wear big beepers on our heads, and if we get too close to each other, then the alarm will sound and it'll, like, I can't even believe that this is a reasonable consideration from a premier who once presented himself as conservative.
Oh, for sure.
Who is this guy? I don't even know who he is anymore.
He's Bizarro World Jerry. And these bracelets for tracking social distancing, we do have a person who emailed us and super chatted us saying that they work for or work with somebody who works for the production of the TV show Supergirl, which is on CTV out in BC, and they are using those to make sure cast and crew, maybe not cast, that'd be probably not be in their contract, but crew are wearing the bracelets to make sure that they're not too close to each other. It'll beep if you're there after a certain amount of time. And if somebody gets COVID, then they can see who's been in close contact with them. So it sounds all friendly and good until, I don't know, your executive producer or your casting producer gets to know about your whereabouts is really weird. And I don't see how any union would allow people to be told to do this, but then again, maybe Tom Cruise is off to the side yelling at them just because he wants to keep the production going. He just wants people to have jobs, Sheila. Forget about the Scientology for now. Top Gun and the new Mission Impossible had to be made.
Did you see where they want to use these things?
No.
Airlines, where everybody's crowded into a tube of recycled air to begin with. Good call. Schools, construction sites, and long-term care homes. The province said that the technology will be able to track COVID-19 exposure without using GPS.
Oh.
If anyone in the working premises reports COVID-19 positive, HR or health and safety officials can log into the online reporting dashboard and see who they have been in contact with and their risk level, then send them an exposure notification. The device will also beep or vibrate at users who are less than 6 feet apart. This is insane.
It's not GPS, Sheila. It's just logged online, and you can log in and see it in real time. It's not GPS. It's just a different form of tracking.
It's not GPS. We just know exactly where you are on the face of the earth at any given time. Don't worry, though. It's not GPS.
I like how we've just gone to people in health or employers now are overlords, and anything is justified as long as it's under the guise of health. So if we need to know where you are and what you're doing, it's a health and safety measure. If we need to test you and stick things in your throat or throw you into a minimum security prison, it's just under health, so you can't debate it. It's basically an attempt to take away the arguing. You don't want hospitals to overrun, do you? Even though that hasn't happened. Then we need to shut everything down. You wouldn't dare question people's health. It's just that they've found a new way to implement anything they want for something that you can't question. You know, the race argument has dropped off. The gender argument has dropped off. People don't trust their politicians anymore. But now we've gone to this next thing where they figured out that people don't exactly like to question medical professionals. So this is the route where we're going to push everything to you through.
I don't understand what is the return on investment that Doug Ford keeps talking about, because governments have developed apps that nobody is using and that nobody's installing. And they're like, nobody's using the app to install on the device that they're already constantly using all day long. You know what we should do? Make them wear bracelets. And somebody thought this was a great idea. This is such a bad idea. As I continue to read this CTV News article, I find myself agreeing with the teachers' unions. And that is, that's how bad Doug Ford's ideas are, where I'm like, you know what? That teachers' union that generally works against parents and kids, they might have this right. The Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association and Advocacy Group, call it a union, that represents 45,000 teachers in Ontario's publicly funded English Catholic schools, also expressed an opinion on Twitter saying that no one asked for the bracelets. Yeah, exactly. Literally nobody asked for this. And other people are saying, why don't they just put this millions of dollars into long-term care facilities, schools, or, paid sick leave? I don't know. But anyways, there's a lot of other things that they could do with $2.5 million than help create or dish out bracelets that nobody asked for anyways and that people aren't going to wear because they're already not downloading the stupid app.
They need to find a way to get people to listen to them because it's not working. There is even an article that came out from the United States the other day. One of the CEOs, somebody high up in Walgreens, in the Walgreens pharmaceutical section, said that 60% of the nurses that they've tried to give the a vaccine to have refused the vaccine. So, because obviously they're trying to get a deal through Walgreens, so it's cheap, so you can make an appointment and come in and get a vaccine. But people just aren't taking it. The nurses themselves just aren't taking it. So this, along with things like the tracing apps, nobody wants them. Their public pressure appears to not have worked, so they're just trying to find other ways, I think, of getting stuff that they want to pay people for out to the people. Because at this point, I'm not so sure there's a nefarious plot of a council of 9 in working it from the Arctic to impose all this stuff. I think it's, hey, all this stuff is working for all of our other businesses. Why can't let's just keep trying. If we can't get all these vaccine sales to go, which is definitely what they're doing, Johnson & Johnson wants it twice a year, every year, then they're going to find a different route to try to sell it to you. So maybe we need to look into who's manufacturing these bracelets and if Doug Ford has a connection to them. Hey, if somebody wants to find out if it is indeed his company making those floor labels, go ahead and call them and send it to us because there's a lot of rumors going around that Doug Ford's company, along with the shipping that they do for everything, obviously, is also the company making the mandatory social distance stickers that you have to stand on with the arrow and they say 6 feet apart. So maybe I should call and be like, hey, I'm looking for labels for my business, Doug Ford.
Yeah, you should call and order 10 and see if they'll dish them out to you.
We could put them here.
Yeah, I mean, moreover to your point about the nurses not taking the vaccine, I saw an article the other day, I think it was from an American website, that like the military are declining the vaccines like in bulk. Like there are like a large minority of people in the military they don't want the vaccine. And it's funny how they are using, like all of a sudden there's a change in language. Thank you, Justin. Yeah. Military, U.S. military, refusing COVID vaccine, 1 in 3. So that's pretty substantial, I would say. And I'm not saying that I'm not against vaccines, but I don't know if I want to be part of a big, massive human experiment because these things are being rushed to market. They could be safe. They could not be safe. I don't know. And I don't think anybody really knows. And that's a problem here. Now I've just completely lost my train of thought.
Well, not too far down the rabbit hole of vaccines, Sheila. Something I learned the other day, and this is on CDC and WHO websites, is that they have the emergency listing for vaccines so they can push them through so they don't have to go through all the trials they normally would. Yeah. So they use that on this, and the type of vaccine they're using, the RNA vaccine, which is the protein spikes and everything that are supposed to duplicate in your body, they've never actually used that before. So this is they've been working on them since the early 90s, and apparently this is the first time they've actually used a vaccine of that type. So color me surprised that people don't want to be part of, as you say, this huge experiment when they had to fast track them. And then an article I did like a month ago about the increased death rate in Norway, where 20-something people had adverse side effects and about a dozen of them died at a higher rate than in their own trials for not Moderna, Pfizer's trials. So Pfizer's actual application in some cases has a higher risk than their actual trials, which of course is backwards.
Yeah, and I saw the other day an article, again, I think it was an American website, that it looks as though the general public is probably going to achieve herd immunity sometime.
New York Times.
Yeah, sometime later on this spring, and we don't even have vaccines. Like the majority of us are not receiving the vaccine, so we're going to achieve herd immunity already. And I think we'd probably achieve herd immunity faster if they would just let us go out about our business, which I think probably takes us to, look at that segue, my report from the prison.
Writer Dave doesn't like the Alberta's so free. He says everything needs to be open or he's not impressed, Sheila. So you're going to have an argument with him about that. And he wants to talk to you about the Heart Foundation as well, the wrestling group.
I would love to.
He thinks that you're going to be a bigger fan of Shawn Michaels than the Heart Foundation. So can we get a comment about that from you right now?
Right now? See, I don't know. You know what? This is a long, I mean, we're just going to end up like 45 minutes and I'm going to be talking about the Heart Foundation and Shawn Michaels and Scary Sherry and then Brother Love's going to get involved. So let's just set that
cue
aside.
up that video, Justin. Sheila, you reported from a prison is what my notes here say. You want to set this up?
Yes. So this is a sneak peek to a video that I have coming out later on today. It was from the Edmonton Remand Center. So if my facts are correct, it is either one of Canada's largest correctional facilities or Canada's largest correctional facilities. But I know at the time that when they were building it a few years back, it was Alberta's largest infrastructure project. And it is a maximum security facility where the worst of the worst are currently being held: murderers, rapists, child sex offenders, you name them. Actually, no, child sex offenders generally get bail pretty fast in the, I was going to say justice system, but it's definitely a legal system and not a justice system. So because of COVID,
let them out, Sheila.
They let them out. They let out 1/3 of the prisoners in Alberta jails, like over 1/3. I think it's 35% of the prisoners in Alberta jails were just like, oh, you're a non-violent offender. Out you go. You know, you don't want to get COVID.
So
however,
prisoners out, Canadian citizens into low security prisons. Interesting.
At least 500 of them were released from this facility alone. And now Pastor James Coates, arrested and imprisoned for the crime of refusing to limit his congregation to 15% of fire code, is in the remand. And since today is Tuesday, I think today begins the 8th day of his solitary confinement there. So maybe Justin can roll a little sneak peek from the protest that grew outside of the remand on Saturday.
I'm a friend of James Coates. He was my pastor for a year. And he's a fantastic man and a faithful servant of Jesus. And we stand here in support of him, but also to send the government a message that you can't take our rights away. That's not your job. Your job is to protect our rights. And so we come here to try to get the message out to the government that this is a miscarriage of justice, and he needs to make it right.
Why did you come down to support Pastor James?
Freedom of religion, freedom of expression of religion. I might interpret it a little bit different, how I obey different rules from the government and that, but I think this is a draconian measure, and therefore I felt that's time to stand up and speak.
We're from Guelph, Ontario, and we wanted to come and stand with our brother here. We feel that it's unlawful for him to have to be jailed and handcuffed, and we have under our Charter of Rights, we have the freedom to meet together, to assemble as a church. So and to follow guidelines if they set out guidelines for us to do that. So we flew once we found out that this happened. We wanted to come out here and support this pastor.
Because my heart is broken, I feel sick that our pastor is in prison. I'm so sad for what's happening to our children, for all the people that have lost their businesses. I'm just sick. I'm brokenhearted for Alberta and for Canada.
Because this is not right, what they're doing to him. And there's no justification for continued lockdowns and mandates.
So why did you come to support Pastor Coates?
Because he's a man of God and he's serving God. And God is our authority, not the government.
Free Pastor Coates! Free Pastor Coates! Free Pastor Coates!
It's really nice to see a bunch of young people here. Why did you come?
To support Pastor Coates and the church. I want church for my family one day.
We believe in freedom and honoring God.
What is being done to our country right now is against our Constitution, and we must fight for Pastor James. He cannot be in jail.
What do you think about Pastor James being in solitary confinement right now?
It's wrong. It's tyranny. We're here to defy tyrants and obey God.
Alberta is...
Now, Sheila, whether you are a believer or not, there's something to be said about just a random person getting to tell you what to do. Now, when you're a kid, you're just like, hey, adults know what they're doing. This person on this TV is an expert. And then you get to become 19 years old like I am. Let's go right... Good, I'm glad you haven't said anything about that. When you get to be 19 years old like I am, you start to notice, hey, maybe the person on TV is not as big of an expert as I thought. Maybe the person in government isn't as smart as I thought. And at this point, you've got to start questioning whether or not anybody has your best interest in mind. Has any politician spoken up against this pastor being jailed?
No, not a single one. I've heard privately from some federal conservatives who have said this is insane, but nobody has said anything public. And I think this is an easy win for the Conservative Party. Like in my mind, I imagine Jason Kenney in 2013, 2014, 2016 arguing with Jason Kenney of today, because Jason Kenney, as part of Stephen Harper's cabinet, they made the Office of Religious Freedom central to their foreign policy goals. That they were creating this, I guess, embassy, really, of religious freedom to prevent what is happening to Pastor Coates from happening to pastors in China, Russia, northern Iraq, Hong Kong. But it's happening here in Alberta. And when the Liberals went to cancel the Office of Religious Freedom, I think in 2016, there's clip after clip after clip of Conservatives, including Jason Kenney, arguing for the merits of this office and giving these ferocious defenses of religious freedom that the church must be protected from being, for lack of a better term, molested and controlled by the state. And yet now this is happening in Jason Kenney's Alberta. It's shocking. And, when I talked to the guys from Aylmer, Ontario, Pastor Hildebrandt was there. He flew out to support Pastor Coates. I said to him, if I were to guess a province in the Confederation where they would lock up pastors, I thought, Pastor Hildebrandt would be the guy behind bars, or Tobias Tisson in Manitoba at the Church of God there. I thought, well, maybe he is more likely to be locked up. But no, we're locking up a pastor in Jason Kenney's conservative Alberta. I almost call this Ontario because really what's the difference at this point?
Sheila, there seems to be a pre-approved Overton window for what the Conservatives across the country, especially on the federal level, think is okay to talk about, lest Twitter people get angry at them. And that's obviously gun control, which good, of course, good. And what's the other one? China. Of course, China. Aaron O'Toole's big on China. Not going to do anything, in my prediction. Refused to say concretely the other day. But these are the only topics that are very low-hanging fruit that they seem to be internally approving that they can talk about. There is zero edge, zero risk being taken by them on any opinions. They have these two projects that set them apart from the Liberals, they think. And I'm pretty confident now saying that they think that if they just stay the course here, if they don't talk about anything that might get 12 people on Twitter mad at them, that they think the Liberal voter is going to come over and side with them, which isn't going to happen. Trudeau he was doing good for a while there in his not speaking. Now he's gotten into the let's lock people up phase, which is obviously not good. Yep. But is anything that they're doing enough to sway the Liberal voter to come over to their side? No. All they're doing is bleeding voters back to Liberals or over to the PPC, who won't. Maybe they'll make a 5% jump this time. Maybe it'll be more. Who knows? Probably stay the same, to be completely honest. Hopefully not. Yep. But where is their talk? Where is Aaron O'Toole on anything that people are talking about right now that isn't the pre-approved topics that they would have been talking about 10 years ago? They won't even talk about the religious freedoms like you mentioned. They won't talk about people being forcibly confined. They won't talk about the border. They won't talk about refugees not having to pay for their own stuff, or illegal migrants having to pay for their own stuff, whereas Canadians do. And if you look at David Menzies' video and his interviews that I believe are coming out today, if not already, at the airport, these are people coming from Sudan, from West Africa, from Egypt, these aren't exactly Justin Trudeau's like pet project here of refugees. These are people who are coming from different countries, and you can make the argument that Justin Trudeau is treating our own immigrants worse than people who haven't tried to come into this country legally. So it doesn't make any sense when Justin Trudeau is supposed to be for all Canadians, but immigrants, no thank you. Citizens, no thank you. But just illegal migrant crossers. And the Conservative Party can't even point this out. They're not even willing to go to bat against that anymore. So my point here is that there's so few things that they think they're allowed to talk about, and they think if they're just silent on everything else, then they'll be able to steady the course. Maybe their goal is to just stay employed, Sheila. I don't know. But like you, many of us hear about people inside Doug Ford's party, inside obviously Jason Kenney's party over there, that they don't agree with them, but none of them will say it publicly. It's so infuriating.
It is very infuriating, especially yesterday. I was watching some of the arguments being made in favor of voting for the Conservative motion to declare what's happening to the Uyghurs in China a genocide. The Liberals abstained. Some NDPers, including Nikki Ashton, abstained, which is no surprise because she's been actively lobbying for Meng Wanzhou to be released. And she has not really said a word about the two Michaels, in contrast to the things that she's said about Meng Wanzhou and her custodial arrangement with Canada. But, they're making these arguments. And one of the arguments they're making about the Uyghur genocide is the crackdown on their religion and that they're being locked up for practicing their religion. And none of these conservatives are making the connection with the fact that there's literally a Canadian citizen being held in a Canadian jail right now in a conservative province, and you have more influence with him than you do with the Chinese government. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely in favor of declaring what is happening to the Uyghurs a genocide. But, you can do two things at once. You can, walk and chew bubblegum. You can also put pressure on Jason Kenney to release Pastor Coates. I mean, Jason Kenney should have released Pastor Coates on Tuesday or spoken out against what was happening to him on Tuesday. He could have said, whoa. The churches should be limiting capacity. However, I don't think we should be locking up pastors in Alberta. We've got to do something here. We've got to pump the brakes. Then it would have looked like he was being proactive and still, defending religious freedom. But we're a week into this now. A week into this, the journalists aren't even asking about it in the daily live stream, where, the health necromancers come and tell us how low the numbers are, but how they're not going to let us be free. Nobody's asking about it. Well, that's what they are. They're romancing the dead to control the living. Tell me that's not necromancy.
I suppose that it is. Plus wizardry. Sheila, we have Jewish, Christian, and Muslim people at our company. We're not specifically in support of any one religion. And we have people who are not religious at all here. Yeah. But when did it become illegal, or when did it become not part of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms to practice religion freely? That's supposed to be the thing. At least it seems to be being held up in the state of New York with synagogues. When did that not become a thing where you're allowed to practice religion freely? I'm pretty sure that's like one of the fundamental rights, freedom to congregate and to protest. All of our fundamental rights are being taken away, and there's still people who are just like, well, good, they should be arrested, those COVID deniers and all this stuff. It's like, what do any rights matter to anybody anymore? Or is it just we are too afraid to get kicked out of a caucus? Or it sours me so much when people want to say things privately and then all of a sudden they're public. Like, it's just people on Twitter. Who's gonna come after MP from Western Ontario? 6 people on Twitter if you just go out and vote for something like the Uyghur genocide. It's this irrational fear of not being part of the cool kids club, Sheila. And I'm told we have to get to super chats now. So
yes, Justin, I know. However, the whole world is looking at our conservative politicians doing nothing about this, doing nothing about what's happening to Pastor James. I'm getting media requests from Ireland right now to talk about this. Ezra's been on Glenn Beck. Pastor Coates' lawyer has been on Glenn Beck. Pastor Coates' lawyer, by the way, is James Kitchen from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. If you ever needed a reason to support the work that the Justice Center is doing, right now is your chance. Like they're just fighting for religious freedom. And the world is watching them do nothing. It's shocking, but it's not even about conservatives and liberals or progressives and conservatives anymore. It's people who want to be left alone and the people who won't leave them alone. And the people who won't leave them alone are using the full force of the government to make sure that you behave and you think and you believe exactly the way that they want you to believe. That's where the political ideologies have gone, I think, in 2020 and 2021.
Tucker Carlson even showed the Gatineau police video last night. So everybody but Canada is talking about it. Go ahead, Sheila.
Yeah, isn't that shocking? Everybody but the conservative politicians who are supposed to care about these things are talking about it. Speaking of which, Making Gains gives us $2. Tucker destroyed Trudeau on last night's program. I didn't watch last night's Tucker yet. I was in church because yesterday was the feast of the chair of St. Peter, and I've been spending a lot of time with our Calvinist brothers and sisters, and I'm worried they're going to try to get me with their hospitality. Yes, with their hospitality and their warm nature. So I was off at the Catholic Church last night, so I missed Tucker.
His first segment was just showing that Gatineau police on New Year's Eve clip and talking about the lack of rights we have here. I stopped watching it after the first segment, but that's basically what happened. I was like, show one of our clips. I was yelling at the TV, hoping they were going to show one of the COVID hotels, but maybe next time. Patience.
They can't. Tucker can't cover all of our content in one night.
Oh yes, he can.
Well, he could try, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Space Dave 2000 gives us $2. COVID-19 propaganda already below this live stream. Yeah, probably. There is. Yeah, get the latest information from Health Canada on COVID-19. Click the thing to learn more. Thanks, Health Canada. Georgie gives us $5. Hey, guys, I have a question. I was on a panel with Dr. Davila yesterday, and to be honest, she seemed more moderate than on CP24. Does TV derail people? I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
I think that somebody might be speaking to the audience the way they think the audience wants to hear from them, depending on, I'd have to see both performances, but if your opinions are changing, think of Joe Rogan. If you guys watch Joe Rogan, when Joe Rogan has a conservative guest on, he's more conservative. When he has a liberal guest on, he's usually more liberal. He's probably about as middle of the line as he wants to believe he is, but people do have a tendency. I mean, if you go on the Young Turks, then you go on Fox News, there might be a little bit of a different performance if you like the people that are talking to you. So who knows?
Yeah, it's weird how the science, though, from Davila can change based on who she's talking to. Follow the science. Off to CP24 or off to a live stream, however that works. Ray W gives us £5. You are all brave at Rebel. I don't know. I don't feel brave. I feel like the people whose stories I tell are the brave ones, and I'm happy that they trust me to be there to tell their stories. For example, we're the only ones getting access to these churches that are fighting back. I'm the only journalist allowed, not only on the property at Grace Life Church, where Pastor Coates is the pastor, but inside the services as well. And people are really grateful that we are, not just telling the other side of the story, but telling the full story. They make the journalists stand in the ditch across the street where they wear masks, standing in the ditch outside. I love it so much. Likewise with Kian's church that he has been covering, Fairview Baptist in Calgary. Maybe we should get to that, Justin. Should we drop the super chat just for a second and get to Kian's Grace Life? Oh, or Fairview, sorry.
Justin also said that Shawn Michaels is way better than anyone in the Hart Foundation. I mean, I can agree to Shawn Michaels kicking Brian Pillman out of a wheelchair as being great, but Owen Hart, you guys, there's nobody better.
I threatened Justin with a figure 4 leg lock for saying that in my ear when I was not able to respond. So anyways, just to set up Kian's video from Fairview Baptist Church in Calgary. When I was at the protest on Saturday, I ran into someone who is related to the pastor at Fairview Baptist, and he said, "You know what, Sheila, we're called by God to be obedient to God over the government, and so Fairview Baptist is reopening too." And so Kian, who happened to be in Edmonton at the time, turned and burned, and he went to Calgary with one of our cameramen, Mocha, who was involved in a stakeout with me over the weekend. So long story, anyways. We'll fill you in on the details there at a later date. But Ian went to Fairview Baptist, and it was really interesting to watch how things changed because Kian was there. I think that church would have received a ticket, a closure notice, something, if Kian wasn't there to just monitor the situation. So maybe Justin can roll a little bit of that. This is a sneak peek of a longer video also coming up.
Kian Bexley for Rebel News outside of the Fairview Baptist Church in Calgary, Alberta. It is one of the many churches that is partaking in a little bit of civil disobedience, if you will. It turns out in Alberta, at least, civil disobedience isn't something completely owned by the left. Conservatives and religious Christians in this province are standing up against government tyranny. In this case, it is in support of Jim Coates, Pastor James Coates from Edmonton, who has been holding his service in contravention of laws that infringe on his religious freedoms. The same, whether you're religious or not, religious freedoms, the freedom to worship when you want, how you want, and who you want, is a freedom on par with the freedoms of assembly, speech, movement in this country. They are fundamental freedoms, and they don't disappear because the government decides you don't deserve them all of a sudden, or because it's too risky to worship God. This church here is joining hands with churches across this province, standing up and holding congregation, holding mass, holding worship here in this church above the 15% of fire code capacity that the provincial government has mandated. The provincial government in Alberta has lifted a lot of restrictions in this province, but places of worship haven't enjoyed that same relief from those restrictions.
Well, I think the idea of religious freedom is being a bit distorted today, where we have our premier or other heads of state telling us what is reasonable for religious freedoms. But what's important to remember is that our conscience is bound before God. It's bound according to the Scripture. And so to freely practice our religion according to conscience is truly what religious freedom is.
These churches are saying enough is enough. And while Pastor Jim Coates has been arrested and put in a detention center alongside child predators and murderers, we're going to be here on the scene as this as church is held over the course of the next few hours to see if the police show up and exactly what is going on here, what the government response is to these people saying no, enough is enough. For Rebel News here outside of the First Baptist Church, I'm Kian Bexley. We'll have more coming up.
Sheila, we got to get Kian a new toque there.
I know.
It's a great way to promote our store. Justin, producer Justin. Guys, if you want Justin to play you guitar riff, you got to super chat his name, by the way. But if we could pull out the rebelnewsstore.com, Justin, we can show Kian Bexley exactly where to get some new gear. We've got handsome guy who looks like a different version of me in that shirt. Ginger guy. I love this guy with the beard. He's just so handsome.
Yeah.
But we've got tons of stuff. And then, Justin, if we can zoom over to the hat section. That's going to be at the top. You're going. Oh, there's some right there.
Oh, there it
we
is.
Go. We got to get Kian new gear, and if you guys want to buy something with a discount, the discount is Andrew10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off. And if you email me, Andrew says at rebelnews.com, I will email you back if you email me a picture of you buying it with my code.
If you would like to commemorate
the
restaurant rebellion that took place here in Alberta, might I suggest you treat yourself to one of these beautiful fan art, by the way.
I mean, I like the shirt, but I don't like where this is going.
This is fan art submitted to us. It's the Rebel Burger. And this actually came about because one of the I Will Open Brave restaurants, who ended up being also a Fight the Fines case, the Big Valley Inn, they had a Rebel Burger on the menu, and they donated, I think we're approaching nearly $900 that they raised because of the Rebel Burger for Fight the Fines. And I thought, wow, that's great. We're helping you, and now you're paying it forward and helping everybody else. But if you would like one of those super fun Rebel Burger t-shirts, and I am upset that I don't even have one. I want the hoodie, by the way.
You have to buy the Rebel Burger.
You have to buy the
Patriots
Rebel
must
Burger.
buy the burger. You've got it in all the sizes you need, Sheila Gunn Reid. The burgers are getting the freedom. The globalists will not keep us down against the burger rebellion.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin. You put it in there and you know the size I wear. So thank you very much. You can use the coupon code Sheila10. Sheila10, and that'll work for anything in the store. Whatever you want, whatever you feel like buying. You want to buy Kiana too, can send it to them. Use the coupon code Sheila10 for 10% off your purchase.
How do I hit you through the screen?
Oh, but you don't. Okay, should we get going?
Let's talk about super chats, I'm told. Super chats, unfortunately, for Justin.
Okay.
He runs the show. I guess it's not unfortunate for him.
It's either that or I've got to listen to him saying super chats in my ear for the next 15 minutes. Okay. Vince Axis Geo gives us $5. The next step is to tattoo a number on everyone that is coded into the bracelet to be used for tracing. Play it again, Justin. There we go. Nice.
Reminds me of Wayne's World. Or Bill and Ted.
Reminds me of Shawn Michaels when he plays the air guitar. When they start playing Sexy Boy, when he comes out into the ring.
Well, let's be honest here. He was. Justin dresses up like him from the early 90s every now and again. Does the old flex while kneeling like that, like Shawn Michaels.
I have a friend, Mike, who just about every year for Halloween dresses as Macho Man in different iterations of Macho Man, like early 80s Macho Man, NWO Macho Man, and it's really detailed. Like it is super detailed. Anyways, Alberta Separatist, $5. Kenny isn't the same politician he was 3 months ago. Either consistently he is siding with Notley, he needs to GTFO of Alberta and go back to Ontario. I saw that his voter satisfaction rate, of conservative voters, is approaching 60%. Redford resigned at 77. I think it was similar with Ralph Klein resigned at 77, and he's down around 60, 62-ish%. It's not good. And those aren't people who are bleeding off into the NDP. Those are people who are screw it. I'll go to a separatist party or I'll just stay home.
Now, Sheila, is anyone ever going to reach the Kathleen Wynne level of 19% in the world?
That was terrible. Just so bad. I think
worst rated politician in my lifetime, I think, besides maybe some warlords that got killed and replaced.
Well, and that's liberal levels of support out here in Alberta, although they can't even muster an MLA. So she was the sitting premier. So that is really saying something of what she did to that party. Trissy's mom 3 gives us $6.99. This fake pandemic power grab merely illustrates how far we've gone down the path of giving too much power to government to start with. And then she says, warning. Yeah, that actual super chat is why we have a COVID warning. Because reading or saying that out loud on YouTube will have this channel nuked like that. But I see your point. And, politicians rarely give power back to you once they take it. It is so rare. Kurt Koenig gives us $5. Andrew, you look good in the too tight button down.
Yeah,
but do they make those for... But do they make those for men?
Where did we get explosions from? Since when are we using explosions? Hey, you want to come down to the Rebel Gym and show me how much you can bench or curl? Then maybe we'll start talking. You send me the picture of your clothes, and then I'll comment on those. But I won't give you money. How about that? Explosion, Justin. Explode.
Yeah, that Kurt's in roast mode. Stand back, Kurt's in roast mode. By the way, we can't get into the Rebel Gym because David Menzies is in there, just ripping it up all the time.
I've been trying to get us to play the David Menzies audio or video of him groaning and moaning, but I've been getting stonewalled by Justin on this every time I bring it up.
Yeah, and when I make the editorial selections in videos, I have to edit out certain groans all the time. David, I love you, but please realize your mic is live sometimes. Let's go. Zane Kreider, $20, and I don't see a super chat. Thank you very much. Kimberly Green, $5. 1/3 of prisoners released to make room for fighters of tyranny. Yeah, That's exactly what's happening. It's over 1/3 of prisoners that have been released from the Edmonton Remand Center. By the way, they've had at least 2 outbreaks of COVID-19 at the Edmonton Remand Center and 0 outbreaks of COVID at Pastor James Church. So actually, Pastor James is more at risk of COVID in a government facility than he would be at his own church. But yet he's behind bars because of the dangers of COVID. Pink Phoenix Nails, that's Catherine. How are you doing? She says, good morning, team. And Schumann Shrivastava gives us $2. Walked into Walmart, no mask. They didn't say anything. And I'm self-censoring there. You know what? If you walk with confidence into a grocery store or confidence plus earbuds, people really don't bother you, because if the confidence is hard to break through to stop someone when you're walking with like a certain swagger to say, where's your mask? But if you have earbuds, it's that extra layer of like having to get their attention. And people generally, they just kind of like leave you alone. At least that's my experience.
Did it at my bank over the weekend. Glad to say that they didn't bother me. It's almost as if they know that you're giving them money.
Yeah.
Which is the approach that most of these businesses should take with this. But, you know, Orange Man bad, Sheila.
Is your bank sort of like the tellers are behind like an aquarium? That's what my bank is like. I'm like, what is going on in here? There's like shields and they're wearing a mask and they're like, there's like plexiglass. Like you cannot get a puck past whatever they're doing back there.
Good ideology, or good metaphor there. I just went in and used the ATM, and they have like the greeter person at the desk, and they were talking to people. One woman was I think one woman in line was waiting because there was 3 ATMs, and a person was in the middle of them. So I think the person was waiting for that person to leave so they could be properly distanced. So I just went past them and I wanted shout out to my bank, which I won't name because I want to keep using it.
Yeah, that's right. Viking Insane gives us $5. Shame on me for thinking Kenny was different than the rest. Soon it will be illegal to have opinions at all. Tempted to burn it all down and vote NDP. Please don't do that.
Burn it all down. Good term.
We did that once already. Don't do that. Please just don't. I don't know. Stop donating. Don't volunteer. Join a protest party. Whatever you do. But Rachel Notley has definitely not earned your vote. She is even more strict on the locker downering and the cracking down on public gatherings that she disagrees with, because she was perfectly fine in, I think it was June to March with Black Lives Matter. They sent their NDP MLAs to speak at a Black Lives Matter event at the legislature when at the time the public health restrictions were that there were to be only 15 people gathered outside. And I think there were several thousands that marched. So, I mean, the NDP, they're perfectly fine with breaking public health restrictions when it matches up with their own ideology, but leaving Christians alone, that's problematic, I guess.
Sheila, why does NDP keep the people as leaders that lose worse and worse each time? Rachel Notley, Jagmeet Singh lost a bunch of seats. Not sure the exact numbers on Andrea Horwath, but she didn't win, hasn't won. But they keep them in power. My theory is that none of their voters actually pay attention to them. It's just what the time they get to the ballot box, like, they stand for free things. I'll check that box. I don't think any NDP voters know anyone other than Jagmeet, if Jagmeet.
Well, and like in Alberta, the talent pool is so shallow in the NDP. It's just a bunch of like activist wingnuts, union stewards. Like it's people who don't actually do things and have ever done things. And so like at least Rachel Notley has done things, and a lot of them are like, oh, I'm NDP, I just put my name on the ballot, and they were swept into power in 2015. So a lot of them, like for them, their first job back in 2015 literally was being an MLA. And so how do you take over the party if you've never actually even and this is no, like, I'm not talking down to waiting tables. I waited tables at the Whistle Stop as part of the restaurant rebellion because they were so busy. But a lot of them hadn't even waited tables. They were just all of a sudden like student activists, and then they were MLAs. So,
Sheila,
you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going to say, so you got to keep Rachel Notley on because who is there?
For those of us who are in a different time zone, what would you say was the number one? Because I'm aware that the NDP was in power and then got kicked out. But what do you think was the number one thing that they screwed up the most in Alberta that had like such a strong reaction of like, let's never do that again?
The carbon tax.
Okay.
They beat Justin Trudeau to the carbon tax, and then they basically spooked away all the international investment that we needed because at the time, oil prices were plummeting. So instead of doing something that would say, okay, oil prices are plummeting, so investing a ton of money into building pipeline infrastructure, upgrading infrastructure, resource extraction infrastructure, it doesn't make a lot of sense unless we incentivize it for you. But the NDP did the exact opposite. They said, oh, by the way, we hate oil and gas, and here's a carbon tax. So off you go then to West Texas, which is exactly what they did.
Bless Joe Biden as well for canceling the pipeline, obviously.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like when we're fighting with Obama about a pipeline at the time, and Rachel Notley's like, yeah, we're not going to get involved.
The crazy thing is that there's already a pipeline with like the similar track. Obviously, it's going to go through slightly different places, a few hundred kilometers away. But if you look at the map for the Keystone, there's one that's not that far away from it. So the idea that we can't have another one is insane. And obviously, we've already seen gas prices go up, especially in the places in the United States that were expecting to get this oil. I've seen some prices lately. Imagine it's just like, sweet, oil, like gas is going to go down by a lot soon, and then all of a sudden it's just not. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that, Pennsylvania, with your steel. Sorry about that, other states with your gas. Just sorry about that stuff we lied about. Hashtag Joe Biden. Oh,
and by the way, the pipeline is in the ground. Like, it's in the ground. So you actually will have to just turn it off or dig it up because it's already in the ground.
Well,
that's another
like
thing that Biden doesn't. Yeah, that's another thing that Biden and Biden voters don't realize is that pipeline is across the border. It's there. It's under the ground. It's fine. Let's keep going. Kyle McGregor. Oh, there's the fun picture that I sent to Justin. Khalid Al-Saragi gives us $5. It's not a vaccine. It's gene therapy. The word vaccine cover-up. Have you also noticed that they're using other words now to describe things that we already know the meaning of? But if we use like a different word, it makes it scarier. For example, instead of saying like, oh, there's this other strain of COVID-19 out there. And we're like, okay, we know about the word strain. We know different strains of the flu come, and that's not scary. That's something that happens seasonally. We know the word strain. So they're using the scary word variant now. Like, oh my goodness, there's a variant. It's the UK variant of COVID-19. So we're all like, oh, that sounds weird and medical and frightening. When if they said like, it's just another strain from the UK, we'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine. We get that. But we're using these weird terms to like instill fear of people.
Well, Sheila, I believe calling it a Wuhan virus or a Chinese virus for a year was racist, but now we can call it the UK strain, the African strain, and that's just perfectly fine because, we wouldn't want to upset China. That's the thing, that it's so cowardly when a politician's afraid to upset China. Like, that's just so transparent. Imagine being afraid to upset North Korea. There's not much difference in between the way they govern their countries. One is just much, much, much larger.
Yeah, I actually have a story coming out in a couple of days because we've got a backlog of church videos. But we have an access to information story about how Health Canada panicked, literally panicked, because someone who was running their Twitter account retweeted something that was pro Falun Gong. And they had like a total conniption. The Justice Department was telling on the Health Canada Twitter account to the minister's office, and we have all the like internal communications. But they were scared that they were going to make China upset after China like poisoned the world's economy with this disease. Anyway, let's keep going. Kyle McGregor Because it's $15. Has media asked how the provincial opposition parties would have differed if they had been in power in their COVID responses? In Alberta, we get to see Rachel Notley's like everything she says is like, lock it down, close it up, give more money to the healthcare workers who are doing less than ever. Like, it's just...
Yeah, that seems to be the messaging across the country is we're opposed to the Conservatives' version of the lockdowns. We just think it should be fully locked down and give everybody basic income from now on.
Yeah. Oh, and all the healthcare workers who are working in empty hospitals, they need a top-up. And in Alberta, it's funny because the amount of the top-up they were recently given, the essential workers, is literally the same dollar amount as a normal person would get for protesting the lockdown. It's $1,200. I'm like, oh, that's a great irony. Nobody saw that. Nobody thought that was weird when they were dishing out that money. Anyway, Joyful Heart gives us $5. Are you both able to disconnect from your job when your workday is finished? The workday is never finished, Joyful Heart. There's such negative stuff these days. Hope you all sleep well. I'm not much of a sleeper as it is. I don't really sleep a lot. I don't know. What about you, Andrew? Are you able to like put the phone down, walk away?
I'm so sick of my phone. Producer Efron makes us join like 65 different group chats. We've got
Slack channel.
We've got Slack. We've got Signal. He's got an Instagram group for us. We've got multiple Slack channels, obviously, multiple Signal channels. So shout out to producer Efron for killing it on work side, but messaging side, he's killing us all. Do I put the phone down? Yes, my solace is watching soccer highlights and playing video games. But other than that, I do enjoy getting riled up from the news after work as well. And sometimes you gotta, it makes more sense to, write out a script for a video the night before or research stuff for my show the night before so I don't kill producer Justin with like last second information. So I think it's possible. I think people more and more are straying away from being attached to their devices, I hope. But the thing that most bothers me now is like Twitter, I think. Like, I just don't want any notifications. And even when you turn them off, they still have that option to be like, hey, we're going to push this notification anyways. Joe Biden just put on his 4th mask or something like that.
Well, for me, it's hard because I feel lucky because I get to work in a job and talk about things that I'm passionate about. And I feel like I can make a difference and I can help people. And sometimes my like biggest stress in a day is like, I want to help this church and that church and help this person fight a fight. And I don't physically have the time in the day to do it, or like I can't actually be in several places at once on a Sunday morning. And so sometimes I do have to put down my phone because I don't know what else I can do. Like I don't know what else I can actually do to help people. And so I could just sit there and obsess over the things my phone is telling me, or I could just set it down for an hour and just hit the treadmill and watch David Menzies videos on the treadmill.
Which David Menzies working out videos for motivation?
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
Yeah. Okay, Jake Paul says, he gives us $25 and he says, Justin, riff, baby.
I'm not on Team Justin anymore after that explosion.
I'm always on Team Justin. Pamela Pelosi gives us $5 and I don't see a super chat. Thank you very much. Fraser McBurney, he's a Fight the Fines case. One thing you should have in your store is the David Menzies hat. I bet it will sell like hotcakes. Yeah, the David Menzies bad guy from an Indiana Jones movie, Fedora. I think we should have one in there with like a little press pass card sticking in the side.
That's exactly right. I call it the Ivory Dealer hat, and that's a job for marketing guru Alex in the back to come up with a hat. That is, we've had, it's not a lot, it's not too many, but we've had increasing requests for the David Menzies hat, and I agree with the 1930s press thing in it.
Yeah.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, people would wear it to play golf in the summer, I think, if your golf courses ever open up in Ontario. Ours opened here.
To buy exotic animals maybe as well.
Yeah, that's right. Rhino horns.
Exactly.
Benjamin Van Drunen gives us $5. Maybe they will hold Pastor James till he gets the COVID and then release him back to his flock so they can manufacture an outbreak. Annalisa S. Annalisa, I think you're the David Menzies super fan, are you not? There's no accounting for taste. Love the Rebel. Just kidding, Annalisa. I now own 7 shirts and 2 hoodies and a face mask from the Rebel store. Thank you. You're such a big support to us here on the live stream all the time.
Make sure you're using my code, Andrew10, moving forward.
I bet she probably used David 10 or Menzies 10 or whatever his was. Annalisa, she's a pro David kind of a viewer. David Anderson gives us $5. Tiki torches in Edmonton, what were they thinking, or are they actual white supremacists? CCP Delenda S. Liberal Party Delenda S. Down with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Yeah, I heard about the tiki torches. Kian was down there. I didn't see anything in Kian's coverage of it. I wonder how much. I mean, that's a little too on the nose for me. Like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but that's pretty, like, if I were an NDP activist trying to discredit what was happening at the legislature, that's a little too on the nose, the tiki torches.
That'd be like Sheila taking a knee and raising a fist.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. I don't know. It just, if I were to guess, I would say that was an NDP plan. Because you want to know why also I think that is because that person has not been identified. And these people are so quick to identify anybody who like doesn't think like them, doesn't whatever. If you've done something bad, the NDP will make sure that your name is out there, you've lost your job, and that you're canceled. And this person has not been identified, and I think that's kind of weird. I'm just saying. I don't know. Could be an actual tiki torch bearing white supremacist. But I think your chances are 50-50, one or the other. Paul Williamson, the mainstream media is getting bent out of shape about white supremacists with tiki torches at the Edmonton rally over the weekend. I saw Kian's report, but I don't remember seeing any torches. Yeah, neither did I, because I don't think that they were anything close to a relevant part of the protest. Chris Lynch gives us $5. What are your thoughts on people voting out of fear? People are doing everything out of fear right now. It's the new religion. I asked Kian Bexley this, and I think his fear of Notley prevents him from seeing Kenny's mistakes. Oh, I think Kian sees Kenny's mistakes. I don't know. I do think that there's like this new religion of fear, and people are, well, like that's why people are so, like people from the other side of the debate are so against Pastor Coates, because he doesn't have fear, because he has faith over God above fear. And for the other side of the debate, that is literally against their new religion of fear.
Fear, religion of the earth. There's a few significant ones that have popped up. But Greta's popularity has waned since she was being investigated in India. Greta's got to keep a low profile before she ends up in an Indian prison or something.
She's almost 18 too, isn't she? She's almost the age of majority. So that's hard time, little sister, if you get in trouble. Chris Lynch, $5. What are your thoughts? Oh, we already talked about that one. No Fear, Child of Light, $20. Shiba dog in samurai armor holding a golden trophy. And Annalisa S gives us $6.99, and she does clarify, I love my Menzies. Do you want to know what I think is so cute about Menzies? You know what I would love to know? I would love to know what is your weird kink or quirk, Annalisa, because I love David, but I don't see what you see.
Can I
so let me know. I'm curious. I really want to know. Tell me.
The way he breathes into the mic.
Oh, the breathing into the microphone. Good gracious. Okay. Oh my goodness. We're 3 minutes past the hour, so maybe I'll have to check the comment section after for Annalisa's clarification about my friend Menzies.
I just want to throw an invitation out to the soccer player in England named Lyle Taylor. If he wants to come on my show, he is one of a couple top-of-the-line English players that is refusing to kneel anymore. He's calling out BLM. He says, why would I adhere to a communist organization? There is Lyle Taylor. And he's not the only one. There's also a guy named Wilfried Zaha, who's not kneeling for different reasons, but either one of them. But I'm extending the invitation to Lyle Taylor there to come on my show and discuss once and for all, because everybody's quoting him, everybody's taking audio clips of him. Just get it out there, and I think he's a brave guy, Sheila.
Yeah, I do too. And I just want to clarify, if everybody thinks I'm being hard on David Menzies, I love him. I'm his biggest fan, and I tease
Sheila.
him. I tease. I know I do get the emails, and people are like, you were a little hard on David. I love David.
I get elder abuse emails. Tell Andrew that he got that song from the 50s wrong. Oh my God, tell Andrew to stop being mean to David Menzies. Get over it. We're friends.
We love David. We love David. And you know what? With regard to his constant working out, I hope that when I am in my golden years, such as David Menzies, that I have that sort of commitment to personal health that he does, because he is in there just giving her. He's going to hurt himself, and I'm worried, but he's giving her.
When they say that when you grunt like a tennis player, you exert more force and you're able to work out more. Sometimes he grunts, sometimes he moans, but he always comes correct with the weirdly small shorts. That make Justin very uncomfortable, by the way. Producer Justin hates men in shorts. One more super chat and no more shorts talk.
It's from Annalisa S., and then I think we need to wrap up the show. Annalisa S. gives us $20.99. Wow. Thank you very much, Annalisa. And she clarifies why she finds Menzies so cute. And she says, get ready, but here it is. It's those darn orange caterpillars above his eyes. LOL.
Somebody must find Donald Trump incredibly sexy as well, then. I've got great eyebrows. The David Menzies guy has the best eyebrows. Probably the best eyebrows I've ever seen. All right, take us home, Sheila.
Oh, I was going to let you wrap it up. But anywho, I was like, wrap it up, Andrew. Andrew, wrap it up. No, thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with Andrew and I as we do our best to take you through an hour of live television. Thank you to producer Justin for also bearing with us as we do our best to take these people, these 1,700 of them still watching, God bless you all, through an hour of live television. And thank you to all of the people who commented and those of you who super chatted. We appreciate every little bit of it. I'll probably see you at home back here on Thursday. And what does David say? Oh, yes. Stay sane.